Come in as friends and leave as family.
Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
You are listening to WMNHLP, Manchester's radio, broadcasting at 95.3 megahertz frequency modulation from the top of 1000 Elm Street. Our studios are located at 1045 Elm Street and licensed to Manchester Public Television Service in Manchester, New Hampshire, USA. Contact us by email at WMNH953@gmail.com or through our website at WMNHradio.org.
From the studio.
Come one, come all to a beautiful show. It's gonna be awesome and some other stuff. Dee-dee-dee-dee-doo-dee-dee-dee-doo-dee-doo-dee. Some other musical stuff.
I seen you one
Welcome, everybody. Here we go. It's that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious but very, very snowy and slushy downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. And hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Tuesday, March 14, 2023, and I'm not alone.
Love that tune.
Jenny is here at the news desk.
I am.
Yes.
Snowmageddon
Yes.
did not stop us.
No. Well, fortunately, we don't have far to go.
This is very, very true. There are good reasons to live in the city.
Yeah, the weather's really never... The only time the weather... There was one instance a few years ago where the weather did prevent me from getting here. I don't know if you remember, it was... It was just the timing of it all, the timing of when the storm hit and how how quickly the city was able to react to it. They hadn't plowed the alley. I remember this vividly. They had plowed the streets around where we live, but they hadn't plowed the alley, so I couldn't get out of the alley.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
My Swiss cheese memory.
I tried, and I was stuck. Unless I wanted to actually physically shovel the entire alley myself.
I don't see that.
Yeah, there was just no getting. I remember texting Peter that day. I said, "Hey, man, gonna just letting you know the best of is gonna have to play. I cannot physically get there.
You are stuck it.
I can't leave. I can't leave the house. Yeah, that was.
Nobody would doubt that because there's not much there's nothing actually that keeps you off of the air.
Yeah,
it's got to be pretty big deal for you not to be on air.
Yeah, if there's some kind of an emergency
certainly
or
no weather,
medical issue or something, but
neither sleet nor snow.
But
except for an alley not plowed.
But that was the only time the weather prevented me. I just said, and if we had the Nissan already at that point. If we still had the Jeep, I probably would have been able to get here. But
true, there's like 3 days average a year that I missed the Jeep.
Yeah,
this is one of them.
Yeah,
but that's it. Then I don't miss it because of the gas.
The Nissan's much better on gas.
Oh, heck yes.
But when we had the Jeep, it was like,
I loved my Jeep.
Very easy to, it was easy to get here, even in inclement weather, as they say. But so I hope everyone's safe. I think this is going to peter out not too long from now, but right now it's still really coming down. And
I thought it was supposed to go to the morning.
No, I think last I looked by midnight it was supposed to stop completely, but
well, that's nearly morning.
They always
pull hairs, are you?
They always kind of over project, I think, as far as the times, the length of time. So they don't. The meteorologists.
At 12:01, it's morning. At 12:01, it's morning.
True, but it's not like
you're splitting hairs.
It's not like 6 a.m. tomorrow. It's still going to be snowing. Not like that.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't.
They said it was going to start snowing a heck of a lot sooner than it did. It was raining when I went to bed.
Yeah, I went to bed at like 2 a.m. and it was still raining at that point.
But you thought you were going to wake up to nothing much.
Yeah, I thought maybe we just weren't going to get snow. Maybe it was maybe a warm front had moved in and it was going to be rain, but no.
We must be in one of those bands where it's supposed to snow like an inch or 2 inches an hour because it's literally raining snow. I have no other way of, how do I describe this? It is raining snow sideways.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to get very windy.
Oh, I think it is.
And
I think it is.
It wasn't when we got here, but it looks like. But
look at it, yeah.
Now the way the snow is falling, it is going sideways. So clearly, the wind is whipped up quite a bit.
And there's so much snow, it looks like rain. Snow.
Yeah,
it's coming down like rain, but it's snow. I am sounding not intelligent there.
But the nice thing is, it's the middle of March, which means tomorrow afternoon. Everything will be in the process of melting.
Yes, it will not be hanging around for long.
It won't be here long.
And it will officially be New Hampshire's mud season.
Yeah.
Yeah. About that time.
Well, that's fine.
Coming in here, I was in ankle deep water.
Yeah, the slush. Yeah. Yep. But so hope everyone is safe. Didn't see a lot of traffic out there coming here today. That's for sure. But yeah, fortunately, we don't have
And the
far
temperature's
to travel.
dropping now, so the ice is going to be starting. It's only 34 now, so
I don't think it's supposed to get below freezing though,
You
unless
don't
that
think-
changed.
34 is kind of close.
Well, 32 is freezing.
I know that.
Last
Jeez.
well, not everyone knows that. Last I looked, it was not supposed to get, but that might have changed. But last I looked, it was not supposed to get below freezing, which is good.
It's very possible to have some ice out there under the snow, though.
Oh yeah, and then I think tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 40s, so things will be melting. Last I looked, again, that might have changed. I was thinking about it today, and by the way, there is, of course, if you're local in the Manchester area here, there is a snow emergency for tonight, so don't leave your car on the street. I was
It's revenue night.
yes.
The revenuers will come and they will get it.
Yeah.
And they are like a posse when they do it.
Oh, they're fast. We've seen it happen
Seriously.
on our street. They're fast when they come.
And they come in like this. There's a lot of them. There's the cop cars and the different tow
there's-
trucks.
yeah.
They snag the cars and they're out of there.
Yeah, when they hit your block, yeah, they'll have a couple
like
of
a
tow
posse.
trucks, and they'll have a police officer there too, in case anyone gets any ideas about, oh, I'm going to go and try to fight the guy who's trying to tow my car away. Don't even think about it.
One of those fools that tries to jump in the car and drive off.
Oh yeah,
You've seen
Once-
those?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
videos out there of people trying to like take their car away from the repossessing tow truck and literally try and drive off the tow truck.
Yeah, once your car is hooked up,
No.
that's it.
I've seen a lot of damage to cars in those videos.
Yeah.
Not the tow trucks.
So don't leave your car on the street.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it earlier. This was not recent. This was a long time ago. This might have been back in the 90s. But I remember there was an incident in Boston where there was a big storm forecasted to be coming. It was at least a foot of snow. It was going to be a big storm. And the city was being really proactive, and they told everybody, they declared a snow emergency. I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of how it works in Boston or how it did at that time, but they had people might. I don't know if anyone will remember this or not. I don't even remember exactly how long ago it was. But it was quite some time ago. So the city proactively told everybody there's a big storm coming. We're declaring an emergency. Don't leave your car on the street. However it works there, but. They actually, and so they actually started towing cars because people did leave their cars on the street. People weren't taking it very seriously because it was getting later and later in the evening, and the snow still hadn't started when everyone said it was going to start, when the meteorologists had said and the city had told everyone it was going to start. So what ended up happening was, because they were being very proactive, the city started towing cars, and they towed a ton of cars for a storm that never showed up, which is incredibly rare. People make jokes, and people have always made jokes about, they're always wrong about the weather. Actually, no. If you really look at it, they're very accurate generally with the weather. I mean, more so now than they were then, because as the technology continues to advance, it's pretty amazing actually how accurately they can predict the weather. But this one, for whatever reason, and I don't remember if it was the storm, it was unpredictable and it just completely changed course and it just surprised everybody, or if it was a warm front moved in and it was supposed to be snow, but it just ended up being a ton of rain. But I think the storm just changed direction and just missed the city entirely. And people were furious because the city had already towed a lot of cars for a storm that ended up not showing up. It created a big problem.
However, it was known, don't park.
True.
They were preparing.
Right.
If it had snowed and they hadn't moved the cars and it was a nightmare, then everybody's like, oh, how could they not do this? They should have been plowing the road. You know what I mean? Like, you're
Right.
not going to win. You're not going to win.
We have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, Maddie, it's Gary.
Hey, Gary, what's up?
Hi, Jenny, my love.
Hello, darling. How are you on this snowy day?
Gary, we're losing. Well, we lost you.
Did your chauffeur bring you over safely?
I can't hear him.
Gary, you're cutting in and out.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Can you hear me now?
Call back in, honey.
Yeah, we had a tree. Let me call you again. Okay?
I bet the storm's giving a little bit of havoc there.
I think he said, "Let me try again." I'm not even sure what he said. But,
I hope that's
yeah.
what he said.
Sounded like a computer, like a computerized version of Gary calling us. But all right, we'll try again here. Hey, Gary.
Better?
So far.
Okay. Yeah, they closed down the buses today too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard.
So you had to call up the sled dogs to bring you over.
Yeah, I heard mention of that on the morning show. That there was. I think Peter had mentioned it. There was no buses.
Yeah, there was no
today.
bus. There was no bus service in Manchester. MTA didn't want it.
Yeah.
Well, most of their drivers are crash drivers anyway, so they can't drive in the snow. So.
Oh. Well, that's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, up around our area on the west side there, they kind of tend to scrape a car and say, "Oh, you're in my lane." So. Yeah, you had to use the sled dogs today to get around town.
Yep.
And because there was no taxis either, taxis shut down.
Yeah. Well.
Hey, do you know what today is?
Tuesday.
Today is Pie Day.
Today's what day?
Today is Pie Day.
Oh, Pie Day?
It's from May 14th.
Oh, I get it. Yes. Well, very good.
I'm trying to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I thought I'd throw in some education,
Yes. Well, very good, Gary. All right. Anything?
Yeah. I'm just.
Yeah.
I'm all like that, and but yeah, I just wanted to check. I was hoping to hear you guys today, so.
Oh yes, we made it.
So,
Yes,
that's great.
Neither sleet nor driving snow. Ha.
Oh, well, Maddie, when you got stuck in the a couple of years ago there, when you got stuck in the alley, all you had to do was get some duct tape, get a shovel, and put it on the front of your car, and just you could plow yourself right out.
Ah, if only I thought of that. I was probably out of duct tape.
Yeah, you just put that shovel, one of those white shovels, and maybe make a couple of bucks out, pushing somebody's snow away from their driveway.
Right.
Just entrepreneurial,
Yeah, exactly.
See?
Exactly. Well, all right, Gary.
All right. Well, yeah, I just, you are my family people, and I think of you guys, so,
Yeah, well, we appreciate it,
All
Gary.
right.
We appreciate you.
It's song to open up.
What?
That was a great song
You're
open up, so.
Yeah, I'm having.
Yeah, you're cutting out, Gary. We're
I'm
having
sorry,
trouble
Gary.
hearing.
Yeah,
hearing-
the wind's blowing over here. I should climb up the highest tree, but
Right.
Don't do that.
All right, I love you guys. Have a great
We
day.
love you
All
too.
right,
Stay
we
safe
love you,
and
Gary.
warm.
Bye-bye. All right, very good. That was our friend Gary, and that opens up a line for you, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also text us at 617-917-4476. I'm on social media at Matt Connarton. You can email me, matt@mattconnerton.com, or just message me directly through the website, mattconnerton.com. You can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat, and we'll say hello to everybody in there in just a moment. But the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is give us a call at 603-250-6007. And in fact, our friend Shannon is on the line. Hi, Shannon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Huh?
I said good afternoon.
Well, when you guys were talking about the storm that never was, remember I think it was October 30th or the 31st, 2010? I want to say 2010, we were going to get a dusting to an inch, and we got a lot more. Anybody remember that?
I have no recollection of that whatsoever, no. But I'm sure.
Okay.
But I'm sure it happened.
It was either October 30th or the 31st.
Yeah.
It was a surprise because all the weather guys said, well, it's just going to be a dusting. Well, we got about 6 inches.
Yeah, you never know. You can never be sure. I mean, like I said, they're accurate most of the time, but weather can be unpredictable. Geez,
Yeah, it changes. Winds blow, and
look at California. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
They're in hell.
I mean,
they never expected
if anybody
this.
needs some cisterns, it's them.
Some what?
Cisterns.
What is that? I've heard that word, but
That's to
I
hold
told
water.
you before because you asked me for the water bucket.
Oh, yes.
Barrel, like a barrel.
Yeah, their drought's over, but they don't have the capacity to contain all this water they have now, and they're about to have
Barrels,
some.
Put it in the barrels.
just going to slough off into the ocean.
They're going to have some major flooding as all of this melts. They're in so much trouble there. It's really it's sad, and it's pretty shocking.
California's just going to fall off into the ocean and drown everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about it. The fires they've had, and now the snow.
You know why?
I mean,
they're cursed.
Yeah.
Oh,
they are cursed.
Oh, that's where
I just wanted to see.
that's where Hollywood. That's where Hollywood is in California, and Hollywood is evil. There's liberals there, so God is punishing them with the weather. I'm
going to let you go. I just wanted to see if anybody remembered that storm. If you look it up, it's.
I mean, I do remember there was a year when we got a big snowstorm on Halloween. I do remember that. So maybe that's the year.
Yeah, it was a while back, but
yeah.
All right. Sorry. Continue.
All right.
Show.
All right, Shannon.
Love you guys.
Thanks for the call. We love you. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, that was our friend Shannon, and that does open up a line for you. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. I do want to say hello to everybody in the Facebook live chat. Easy G joins us in the chat room and says, Happy Taco Tuesday.
Oh, yes, it is Taco Tuesday.
Yes.
I wonder if margaritas will open today.
I don't know. I didn't notice if... Well, then again, I came in the back door. I parked in the garage and came in. I
didn't see anything when I came in, but I came in early because
Oh, they don't open.
They don't open till 4, right?
They don't open till 4 anyway. Yeah. So I don't even know. They're probably open. JFed joins us, of course, from the great state of Vermont. Says good afternoon, everyone. He says power is finally back on. Oh, I didn't know they lost power. We're fortunate. We don't really lose power here.
There's a lot of people in New Hampshire that don't have power right now. I think the last number I saw was somewhere around 60,000.
Really? Yeah.
People, mostly Eversource customers that don't have power.
Well, aren't there power lines down too on 93 between exit 4 and 5?
I think they've cleared it now.
Oh, okay.
The last I saw, they had cleared it, but exit Highway 93 in both directions was closed, and there was a rollover truck on 93 in Concord.
Wow.
And it is treacherous out there. You really shouldn't, just don't go out if you don't need to go out.
Right.
You're
Jenny,
better off staying home and off the roads.
Yes, I see you're in the chat room.
I'm everywhere.
Also, Melanie La Liberty, also from the great state of Vermont, joins us. Hello. Miriam Banish says, it's crazy out there. She says, I have to dig out an area in my yard so my dog can pee. Oh, that's good, though, because that will help melt some of the snow.
This is true.
And she said, New Hampshire mud season doesn't hold a candle to Vermont's. Oh, that was Melanie.
That's Melanie.
Melanie who said that, yes.
Yeah.
Miriam says, it gets so bad on the school playgrounds. Oh, yeah, probably. I can imagine, yeah. Melanie.
Yeah, no, this is definitely going to be a serious mudding after this one.
Melanie says, I will post videos. You wouldn't even be able to get to our house without four-wheel drive. We have lost children in Vermont playgrounds. They do not resurface until summer. That must be terrifying until they finally resurface.
I would be rather scared, too. I wonder what they survive on. Maybe it's like little worms or something.
Well, I think, can you eat mud?
I suppose you could eat it, but
if you're in the mud,
that you should eat it.
If you're in the mud, you just eat the mud, I would think, and then the mud will sustain you.
I think that's disgusting.
Yeah, maybe.
You used to need four-wheel drive sometimes to get to my house that I used to have.
Yeah.
The road would just turn into like a four-wheeling looking zone.
Scott Robinson said, I saw a lot of buses in the Elm Street area today.
What kind of buses?
I had heard that they weren't running today, but Scott says he saw buses.
We saw a bus when we were coming in, actually.
That's true. We did see a bus. Maybe some buses were running and some weren't. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can't totally shut down public transportation. People still have to get to the hospital.
That's true.
Or things of that nature.
That's true. And JFed says, don't eat the yellow snow. Yes, that's always always a good idea. Not to, of course. Yes, you don't want to do that. 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007 is the number to join us today on the program. I had this, so I saw this story, and this goes back to March 8th, but I just haven't had a chance to get to it on the show. And it's a very odd story. It involves the Log Cabin Republicans. Now, if you're not familiar with the Log Cabin Republicans, or you might have heard with them, they're this conservative organization that, they're conservatives, but they're also very pro-gay rights. So they support things like marriage equality and whatnot, which a lot of Republicans do anyway. But That's an issue where over time, a lot of Republicans have come to support same-sex marriage, and some still oppose it, of course. So, we still have Republicans here in New Hampshire who try to still.
I bet if we look, there's a bill in there to undo it.
Yeah.
There's certain bills that come up every year, year after year, decade after decade in New Hampshire. But
this is a weird story, and this is from a website called rightwingwatch.org, which I used to get a lot of stuff from. But I hadn't looked at it in a while, but then I saw this, and I've been meaning to get to this on the show. It's so strange. Isabella Riley Moody, ambassador for the Log Cabin Republicans, says the Log Cabin Republicans make her want to vomit. If anything, what we're about to look at here, this is a cautionary tale. If you run some sort of organization, especially one that is involved in politics or has a particular political agenda, or cause that you're trying to advance, be wary of who you're hiring to be any sort of ambassador or spokesperson, or they're supposed to help you advance your message in any way, because you want to make sure that they actually agree with you and what your organization is doing. This is a strange one. So it says here, last month, the Log Cabin Republicans, an organization that claims to represent LGBTQ this is from their website, quote, LGBT conservatives and straight allies who support fairness, freedom, and equality, unquote, announced that far-right commentator Isabella Riley Moody had been named to its 2023 class of outspoken ambassadors. Oh, very nice. So she must be a supporter of advancing gay rights among conservatives, and so she wanted to be an ambassador. That's great. But then it says here, the choice of Moody to serve as an ambassador for a gay conservative organization was rather unconventional, given that Moody is a virulent homophobe who brags that the word, and I'll just refer to it as the F word, not that F word, but the F word that is used as a gay slur, brags that the F word is part of her everyday vocabulary, and wishes that the country was a more, quote, homophobic society. Her own words. While Moody openly proclaims herself to be a, quote, homophobic bee, unquote, except she actually uses the word, she also claims that she is, quote, not really homophobic, unquote, and that all of her bigoted language and attacks on anything she deems gay are nothing but a troll. The disconnect between Moody's various stated positions was on full display when she appeared on the Stu Peters show Tuesday night to try to explain how an avowedly anti-LGBTQ conservative Christian such as herself can serve as an ambassador for an organization that supposedly represents, quote, LGBT conservatives and straight allies who support fairness, freedom, and equality. Moody's efforts to explain this incongruence did not go well, as she eventually declared that the agenda promoted by the Log Cabin Republicans, quote, grosses me out and makes me want to vomit, unquote, and that her agreement to serve as an ambassador for the organization was nothing more than an attempt to troll the left. None of this makes any sense. This is bizarre. And how is she trolling the left by being a like, none of this makes any sense. So then it says, Moody claimed that she was asked to serve as an outspoken ambassador by her friend, David Leatherwood. Oh, what a great name. Who, quote, thought it would be really funny because of how homophobic I am online. There's nothing conservative. Again, this is her talking. There's nothing conservative about being gay. It's anti-God. It's anti-Christian. You can't multiply. You can't actually reproduce. So it's going against God and nature. To be an ambassador is kind of like a troll. I do think homosexuality is obviously a sin. I don't condone it at all. I have a couple of friends that are gay, and they know this. People can hate me for what I say, but I'm not going to change my tune depending on who I'm around. Honestly, I think it's a funny headline. I'll do it, but I'm never going to say that being gay is okay. Indulging in this sin is and living in sin and marrying a guy, even though that should not even be a thing at all, or engaging in the sexual conduct with other men if you're a guy and all this gay behavior, I don't condone it. However, I will make kind of a headline out of it, and I think it's funny to troll the left in that sense, unquote. I still don't understand how she's trolling the left by being...
She feels she's trolling it by being highlighted as one of their ambassadors. She went so far as...
But isn't that trolling the log cabin Republicans? How is she trolling the left?
Because she's putting them in that category. I think she considers anybody who believes in same-sex relations or is involved in one is left. I don't think she buys that they're Republicans.
Maybe
that's the only way
she
could. Well, I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with.
Yeah,
that would be a way of trolling.
She thinks she's owning the libs.
Yes, yes. She went so far as to say, there was a quote here, and forgive me, it just slid past, but that they wanted her to make videos. Oh, she claimed on that interview that you were talking about, she quote, and they love it, and said they'd like me to make homophobic videos, end quote. They asked me if I wanted to be an ambassador with all the crazy stuff I say about, and there's a word we don't say. And I said, sure, I'm not going to change what I say. And then they said they loved it and wanted her to make videos, which makes no sense.
Yeah, none of this makes any
sense. How do you, and in this organization, right, this whole thing, this is a national organization, and they named 7 people, correct? Is it 7 or 8?
I'm not sure. As ambassadors?
Out of the entire country, these people were chosen to be ambassadors. How can you possibly screw that up so bad? Literally, how can you possibly screw that up?
Maybe they're not familiar with Google.
What? I mean, how did this woman get chosen? Like, did you not see any of her podcasts? Did you not read any of her writing? One of her favorite words to use is the F word in relation to people who are in same-sex relations, not the 4-letter version, if you get my meaning. I'm not going to say it, obviously. But, I mean, she throws it around like it's nothing. Like she's saying the color blue. I mean, it's literally just that easy of a word for her.
Yeah, it says here later in the interview, Peters, because she was on the Stu Peters show, who is himself a virulently anti-LGBTQ bigot, assured Moody that she was allowed to use the F word on his show because he uses it as well. Oh, how charming. Peters then demonstrated that point when he said that what the log cabin Republicans are promoting is blank. I completely agree, Moody replied. Quote, the contradictions in all this pro-log cabin Republican stuff, it really just grosses me out and makes me want to vomit, unquote. What's odd about her, too, is the way she speaks about this, she doesn't even speak like an adult. I mean, it's bad enough that she's such a bigot, but she sounds like a child, like a teenager who's bothered by gay people. Just the way that grosses me out. Ugh. It's weird.
Can we talk about how they described her when the announcement came out? And it was 7, by the way. It's 7 people they announced as ambassadors for Outspoken, which is their offshoot organization. They described her as fearless, fun, and unapologetic, a modern conservative woman. She speaks out against those who demean and denigrate American values.
Oh. I just, someone forgot to Google her. Is it possible they had her confused with somebody else? I mean, she does have 3 names. She's Isabella Riley Moody. Maybe they...
but there's one picture.
I don't know.
There's one picture. She didn't change her hair color, clothes. It's one picture here. There's one that keeps going around, her in a blue shirt. But how in the world can you do this?
It's so bizarre.
She literally complained, quote, our society literally puts F word on a pedestal and worships them, end quote. How can you possibly make this woman your figurehead for log cabin Republicans, for people who are in the LGBTQ plus community? that do follow. There are plenty of people, by the way, in the Republican Party. Like, that's, get over yourselves. Everybody is everywhere. Everybody's entitled to have different types of thought. Doesn't matter. But how can you read this woman's anything that I looked her up, and like everything I'm coming up with, I can't say most of it without censoring myself.
Yeah.
Because we would get in trouble for saying these things on the radio. It's that bad. Like, it's that bad that you can't say it. And they hold her up and call her the unapologetic, fearless, and fun modern conservative woman. Like,
she doesn't seem very fun.
Oh my God. Right? How fun is it to wish people harm? Like, the things that she says are nasty. She calls, as far as she's concerned, anybody that falls in the LGBTQ plus community is gross and makes her want to vomit.
It says here, evidently still confused about Moody's role as an ambassador, Stu Peters asked her to explain why she was serving as an ambassador for the Log Cabin Republicans' Outspoken Project. Moody's answer was not particularly coherent or convincing. This ought to be good. She said, quote, I actually don't follow the organization. I actually don't even really know what they do. They asked me if I wanted to be an ambassador and all the crazy stuff I say about F words. And I said, sure, but I'm not going to change what I say. And they said they loved it and they would want me to make homophobic videos for them, unquote. Maybe she's just severely mentally ill.
I don't know.
None of this makes any sense. It says here, since neither Moody, the Log Cabin Republicans, or the organizers behind its Outspoken project seem to realize this, allow us to assure them that hiring a proudly homophobic bee to serve as an ambassador for an organization that claims to represent the interests of LGBTQ conservatives is not a troll of the left, but is actually just a pitiful self-own on the part of the Log Cabin Republicans. Well, it's an interesting theory. I mean, is it possible that someone within the Log Cabin Republicans did this intention? Maybe someone infiltrated the organization who wants to change the organization and take them backward, or I suppose I don't know.
I would believe if somebody got in there and was trying to do some kind of undermining. But okay, one person. How does the board of this organization, do these people vote to get down to the 7 people in the entire country they're going to make ambassadors?
Now, you had some sort of an update
on.
You were looking up earlier. She'd been removed. From the board.
I did find. Yes, Log Cabin Republicans dump new ambassador after she says gays quote gross and quote her out. This is from Queerity.com.
Yeah.
Yes, they did say that they have distanced themselves from her. They've taken her down. In fact, they took the whole picture down. Yeah. I'm not even sure. By what I'm reading, it looks like they may have taken the entire thing down that they had put up to do this. There's no explanation that I'm coming across, though, for how this happened.
Yeah,
who's on their board?
Bizarre.
Who made these votes? Who did the work on the website? I'm sure you had to Google some stuff. How did you not come up with what she says?
Yeah.
There's a quote that she's very proud of the fact that she can't stop saying the F word.
Right.
She literally is quoted as saying that.
She's very enthusiastic with her homophobia.
Yeah, very. Like, I mean, just ridiculously, outrageously disgusting excuse of a human being to be called an ambassador for an LGBTQ plus community is just disgusting. It's just awful. I mean, I'm kind of in shock over this one.
Yeah.
Because I'm blown away. Like, how do you do this? How do you get this woman representing you when it took me about 2 seconds of looking to realize what kind of a person she is?
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't hide it.
Right.
That's the other thing. She doesn't hide any of this.
Yeah.
She's right out there. She 100% believes in what she's saying.
Yeah.
She does podcasts, does radios, constantly using the word, and other words and things that aren't very nice. She calls herself a homophobic bee.
Yep. Yeah.
She's very proud of her position. And yeah, they put her as an outspoken ambassador that is going to make sure there is equality in law for the LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah.
These two things do not mean the same thing. They don't. I mean, I'm just... Oh, you want me to tell she had made a quote on, she had made a posting on Twitter, and this was just done on March 7th in regards to all of these things. She said, being a homosexual and proclaiming it proudly has zero place inside the Republican Party or with the conservative movement. Just as Christians should be ashamed of and repent for their sins, so too should homosexuals be ashamed and repent. Excuse me, this last sentence got cut up. Sorry. Further, being gay, being, quote, gay and proud, end quote, is in itself grooming.
Oh, God.
If you're gay and flaunting it proudly, you're recruiting.
Oh, jeez.
And you should stop it now. So I'm a bisexual woman, therefore I am grooming if I speak of myself.
Well, she's not just a homophobe. She's like the worst of the homophobes.
Horrifically.
Yeah. We have a call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Deep the rot runs.
Sounds like Dave Ridley, but I don't know what you just said. What did you say?
Deep the rot runs.
Deep the rot runs. Ah. Yeah, that'd be a good name for a band.
Does this homophobe lady hold any political office?
I don't think so.
Not that I can see. No, she seems to be like a pundit that does video. She's just somebody out there with a big mouth, basically.
Yeah.
So that kind of, I guess that kind of removes the cogency of what I was about to say somewhat. But I think this kind of thing, the way that the fact that politics is kind of like this in the U.S., it's a reminder that the system is really not, it's an 18th century system that could use a lot of improving. And so one thing that has been tried that has worked, have you heard what happened in Cherán, Mexico?
I have not.
So what they did was they got rid of all their politicians. And I'm not saying this is the perfect way to do this. What they did was you're not allowed to be a politician in Cherán. They kicked all the politicians out. And in order to lead in Cherán, the community has to pick you without you running for office. Like, you can't raise your hand and say, I'm putting my hat in the ring. The community has to deputize you. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's interesting. But how does the community... But how does that work, though?
They have, giant town hall meetings.
Yeah.
And just everyone just kind of shows up if they want to. And then at the meeting, no one is allowed to raise their hand and say, I'm running for office. Instead, what happens is they get sort of like the people have to nominate you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's interesting.
Some people some people would say Cherán is in a state of anarchy. It's a little bit like anarchy because they really did throw out the existing government completely.
Really?
And it's been like this for 10 years. But like with anything else, anarchy is completely unsustainable, and it always gets replaced by some kind of government. And that's what they've come up with, is just this completely bottom-up the process of deciding who can be mayor.
Has this been tried anywhere else, this approach, or is this unique to Cherán? Do you know?
I suspect something like this probably went on in some places during the Spanish Civil War, like Catalonia. But it was a little different there, and it's closer to real left anarchy, anarcho-communism sort of. But this is a little more benign. I think what they did in Cherán, I don't like all of it, but it's definitely proven itself to be pretty successful. They've gotten the murder rate down to, I think, the lowest of any poor part of Mexico. So there's not really hardly any murders anymore in that area. And they kicked out what they had was these gangs that were logging illegally. I don't know if that sounds crazy, but I guess the forests are sufficiently scarce in this part of Mexico that logging is illegal, and people will go in and do it, and then they'll kill anyone that's in the forest if they try to interfere.
Oh.
So these logging gangs were killing, or logging cartels were killing people who would try to sort of police the forest or try to enjoy the forest. And and too many people got killed, and eventually the community rebelled against the cartel, and the government. The government the government is kind of in bed with the cartels, but officially they're not, and so the government kind of stood aside, and the locals just kind of took over. And so anyway, it's just, I'm just saying this is one other way. People act as though you only have democracy and dictatorship to choose from, but there really are other options, and that's one of them is the option in Sharon.
Now, I assume it's a small place, so it's a small town, I assume?
I don't think it's huge, but it feels like they've got control over more than just, the 20 square miles of a town. It feels a little bit bigger to me, the areas that they control. They have like checkpoints into and out of the town, and the community is armed. But the actual revolution itself, if you want to call it a revolution, I think it was accomplished with only 3 weapons. There were 3 .22 rifles and just a bunch of angry women who mobbed this group of cartel members. They had a prearranged signal, and the whole town just came out of their front doors. This is like something you would have seen in Northern Ireland during the British occupation.
Yeah,
it was just insane. And then they didn't kill anybody. I think they didn't. There was an attempt to execute the cartel members, but instead, I think community members stepped in and saved them, and they just kicked them out.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I just found an article about Sharon from the BBC. I'd never heard of this place or any of this, but that's interesting. How did they get now when they threw out the existing government though? How did they do that? Was that violence or how did they get rid of the government?
Well, they didn't precisely kick out the federal government. The federals in Mexico have some sort of a provision where they're supposed to respect things like this.
Okay,
a little bit like New Hampshire's Article 10. The right to revolution.
Yeah.
And so the Mexican government is in a sort of a neutral state in relation to its relations to Sharon are pretty much neutral.
No, but
so they kind of stood aside and let this happen. Sharon was not rebelling directly against the federal government of Mexico.
No, I gotcha. No, what I was curious about, Dave, is how did they get rid of the local government in Sharon?
I think they just descended on the police buildings. It was a little bit like the January 6th thing in Washington. They just mobbed the police building. Or it'll also be similar to the revolution in Belgrade in 1999, where the people of Yugoslavia rose up against the central government when they suspected it of stealing an election. They just marched into the government offices.
Huh. Interesting. Oh, I mean, I do respect that they stood up to the cartels the way they did, though. That's interesting. I'd never heard the term logging cartel before, so that's really interesting. Wow. Okay. Sharon. Yeah, I found an article here from the BBC. We'll probably look at this afterward, but how do we get to that, Dave? I don't remember.
Well, we were talking about
the
lady.
There's so many different options for politics. We don't have to do it the way we do it in the United States, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. What were you saying, Jenny?
You asked where we led from. That came from the discussion about the woman. Ross Story has an article up, and they've got an interesting take on it. I think they might be right. They have here that the only conceivable explanation they can come up with is that this is about attention, that the influence of the log cabin Republicans on GOP politics has waned significantly in recent years.
Yeah, you don't hear about it.
But the modest level of attention this stunt will have brought to its influencer program is surely worth the destruction of whatever credibility log cabin had left.
Could be.
According to them. And is it, maybe they are trying to suck some attention. Do you know this was a paying position?
Wow.
From what I'm looking at, it was a hiring. So there's some kind of money involved with this as well.
Are you
and she's an influencer, not elected to anything. She's an influencer. Yeah.
Are you familiar with them, Dave, the log cabin Republicans?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think the first time I heard about them was probably 30 years ago. I mean, all I knew was that they were making claims that they thought Abraham Lincoln was gay, and that
that's right.
Really?
They thought gay folks belong in the Republican Party, and
Yeah.
Kind of like Pink Pistols, a mix of left and right in the same group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe this was. I'd honestly, I'd forgotten about them. I'd kind of forgotten they existed. But yeah, maybe that theory from Ross' story is correct, and it was a stab at reminding everybody about them. Well, very good. Anything else on your mind, Dave?
Oh, there's always something else, but I'll call some other time.
All right, Dave. Well, before you go, would you like to plug the Ridley Report or NHExit or whatever you like?
Oh, nhexit.us. We're independent advocates for New Hampshire, and you can just drop by the website and hang out with us.
Right.
By the way, we also have a weekly meeting on Sundays on the internet, and I think you can find that on the website too. And everyone's invited to join.
Yeah, very good. All right, Dave. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that was Dave Ridley, and that does open up a line for you, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. Melanie asks in the chat room, did he just hijack the conversation? Well, it was a little bit
exactly,
it was a little bit tangential, but I didn't mind. I felt like because we were kind of at the end of what we were talking about anyway. And this Sharon thing is fascinating. I have an article here. Did you know about this? Did you ever hear about this place, Sharon? So
I don't even. I admit to being completely ignorant to this place. I'm not even sure how to spell it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure either. Luckily, the Google helped me out. It's CHERAN. Now, this is an article. This is from 2016.
I would have never gotten there. I was using an S.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, I was too. And then this came up. This is from the BBC. Sharon, the town that threw out police, politicians, and gangsters. It says, in Mexico, organized crime reaches everywhere. The more things change, right? Even into the smallest village, except for one small town in the state of Michoacan? I don't know how to say that. I'm sure I'm not saying it correctly. Led by local women, the people of Sharon rose up to defend their forest from armed loggers and kicked out police and politicians at the same time. It says the women met in secret to make their plans. They were sickened by the killings and kidnaps that had become routine and angered by the masked men who roamed their town demanding extortion payments from small businesses. And for more than 3 years, they had watched, indignant, as truck after truck trundled past their homes piled high with freshly cut logs. Mexico's cartels once focused mainly on the drug trade, but they have diversified their business model and now seek to dominate any lucrative industry, including timber, the foundation of Sharon's economy. By 2011, the loggers were getting close to one of Sharon's water springs. One resident said, quote, "We were worried. If you cut the trees, there's less water. Our husbands have cattle. Where would they drink if the spring was gone?" Unquote. A group of women went into the forest to try to reason with the armed men. They were verbally abused and chased away. So their plan evolved. This is kind of badass, actually.
I get another one up here about it.
This is impressive.
Yeah.
Now they knew it was too dangerous to confront the loggers in the forest at the spring. They determined to stop the trucks in town where they would have the support of their neighbors. Early on Friday, April 15th, 2011, Sharon's uprising began. There's a Spanish word here for it too, but I don't know how to say that. On the road coming down from the forest outside Margarita's home, the women blockaded the loggers' pickups and took some of them hostage. As the church belts of El Calvario rang out and fireworks exploded in the dawn sky, alerting the community to danger, the people of Sharon came running to help. It was tense. Hotheads had to be persuaded by the women not to string up the hostages from an ancient tree outside. From outside the church. That's what Dave referred to. Yeah, some cooler heads had to talk them out of executing these people. The cartel, the people from the cartel. It says here, one resident said, quote, "Everyone in the streets was running around with machetes. Ladies were running around. They all covered their faces. You could hear police screaming and the bells of the church just ringing out all the time," unquote. The municipal police arrived with the mayor, and armed men came to free their hostage friends. There was an uneasy standoff between the townspeople, the loggers, and the police. It ended after 2 loggers were injured by a young man who shot fireworks directly at them. And Sharon, a town of some 20,000 people, so a city, small city, but a city, began its journey towards self-government. Margarita said, quote, "It makes me want to cry remembering that day. It was like a horror movie, but it was the best thing we could have done," unquote.
They set up barricades, and they started their own community patrols.
Yeah.
Controlling who was getting in and who was getting out.
Yeah.
And it was 5 women. 5 women started this.
That's amazing.
It's sexy almost. You know what I'm saying? Like, these women are amazing. I can't even imagine. Like, five women just said, "We're done."
It says here, the police and local politicians were quickly driven out of town because the people suspected they were collaborating with the criminal networks. Political parties were banned, and still are, because they were deemed to have caused divisions between people. And each of the 4 districts of Sharon elected representatives to a ruling town council. In many ways, Sharon, a town populated by the indigenous Puripika people, returned to its roots, to the ancient way of doing things, independent of outsiders. Meanwhile, armed checkpoints were established on the 3 main roads coming into town. Today, 5 years later, and remember, this was published in 2016, these checkpoints still exist. They are guarded by members of a militia or local police force made up of men and women from Sharon. Every vehicle is stopped, its occupants questioned about where they come from and where they are going.
These ladies literally were picking up rocks and throwing them at the trucks to keep them out.
Yeah.
There's a comment here that one of the 5 actually got run over, and all like the skin was taken off her knee.
Yeah.
Car went over her. Still got back up. It was these 5 ladies, and mostly elderly ladies, that joined them that did this. There were very few men involved.
Yeah.
And they won. There's something about this area, too, being connecting to its Aztec roots or something to that nature I was looking at earlier. But these people are phenomenal with what they've been able to do.
Now, that is not to suggest, and there's a lot more to this BBC article, it's very long, but that is not to suggest that this is necessarily the way they have things now, or at least the way they did as of when this article was published, is necessarily ideal by any stretch.
I said something wrong. I need to correct it.
Oh, yeah.
There's a history. There's a United Nations University has a history thing on this, and they held off the Aztec Empire. They're not a part of it.
Okay.
They held off the Aztec Empire in their history, they're calling it a foreshadowing of a spirit of independence.
Yeah.
But I had misspoken.
Okay. No, but I mean, this doesn't sound necessary. Like, I mean, the part where these women, they stood up to their cartels and everything, that's fantastic.
That's impressive.
That's very impressive. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is an ideal model for anything either. I mean, for one thing,
this was a small area too. This was uniting 4 communities.
Right. No, but
to protect an area, not an entire nation.
Right. But I'm just saying what it is today is not, I mean, you've got checkpoints, to go through to come in and out.
I don't want to do that.
That certainly sounds anti-liberty, and I'm sure Dave Ridley doesn't like that part either.
Well, I don't know. I don't think you can necessarily say that, because that's what would be necessary in order for New Hampshire exit to exist.
What do you mean?
And work.
Checkpoints?
They want to have a independent country.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have checkpoints.
There would be checkpoints all around it. They're not going to get away from it. You might not have a checkpoint.
Wouldn't they be for open borders?
But they would be surrounded by checkpoints from the United States and Canada.
I think they would have an ideological problem that they would have to deal with, because on one hand,
they would be creating a huge controlled area.
They want New Hampshire to be its own country, but at the same time, they ideologically, these same folks would tend to be for open borders. So what do you do there? That's a conundrum.
And our borders would absolutely get far more closed should that occur, because there would be checkpoints along the United States and Canadian borders of the state of New Hampshire, or country of New Hampshire. So you'd actually be way more controlled and stuck than you are now.
Yeah.
I would argue.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing to look at. And there may be pieces that have come out of it that could be beneficial to any society. You'd have to take a closer look.
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal to think that 5 women just went out there and we're done. And organized mostly all the women of these 4 territories.
Yeah.
And they won. That's the kicker.
That's amazing.
They won.
That is amazing.
They won. And they were tired of dealing with all the violence in their area. They wanted that to stop. And they were worried about their water supply because every time you take a tree out, you're decreasing the water.
Yeah. Yep. Sharon, Mexico.
It's an interesting thing.
Well, thank you, Dave Ridley. You brought us something very interesting today.
I thought that was definitely interesting. Certainly nothing I've ever heard of.
By the way, before we have to, we are at the top of the hour. We should get to a break in a moment, but I just want to get caught up on the Facebook live chat. Melanie La Liberty said regarding the previous subject with the log cabin Republicans, she said, and this clearly is directed at that Isabella woman, your Pope said it was okay, you chucklehead. Although, no, the Pope didn't say it was okay. He just said, don't hate gay people. We shouldn't, which imagine that's a cutting edge message right there, isn't it? You know,
he's been changing a lot of things to modernize into the 21st century.
No, I know. But what a novel idea. You can actually disapprove of them if you don't like them, but you don't actually have to hate them.
The church is going away from its crusader days. You know, convert or die isn't needed anymore. Yeah.
Imagine that. You can have your own issues with gay people without actively hating them and wanting to bully and be nasty and be a bigot.
However, will they survive without their hate?
Imagine that. It can be done. It can be. I mean, personally, I don't think you should even I think, whatever. I mean, everybody is who they are. Everyone should be free to be who they are, and we should celebrate that.
If you hate somebody because of who they are, that's, in my book, still racist in a different way. Well, it's hate. It's nasty. People hate racist. They hate people just because of who they are. I was born a Jew. People hate me because I'm Jewish. Mm-hmm. You're going to hate somebody because of what they do in the privacy of their bedroom. I just want to know why people are so worried about what other people do in the bedroom. Like, really? Why do you need to legislate the bedroom?
Well, there are studies that have shown that people who are overly homophobic, there tends to be an underlying reason. They might have their own issues going on there that they just can't reconcile.
The nastiest stuff I've ever heard have come out of people that are just, they'll go there. They'll say really nasty things.
Oh, yeah.
To try and prove their point as to why being gay is a bad thing.
There was I forget his name. It was a governor, conservative governor, who's very anti-gay, who I guess was caught drooling over a young gay man on Instagram.
Every time one of those stories comes out, I got to say, they tend to come from the Republican side of the aisle of who gets caught, quote unquote. They're self-loathing, I think. You'd have to be self-loathing then.
Well,
right?
we should be fair though too. There are many. I think at this point, in fact, probably the majority of Republicans have gotten past all that. Well, no. Look at New Hampshire now.
Not in Concord. No way.
But in New Hampshire, and you were serving in the state house at the time. New Hampshire was ahead of the curve.
There's reasons why we won on that.
Was ahead of the Supreme Court on legalizing same-sex marriage here in New Hampshire. And wasn't it because there were enough Republicans who voted with Democrats to legalize same-sex marriage here in New Hampshire?
No. That's not how it worked. When it was legalized, it was done by a liberal majority.
Oh.
And I was not on the winning side of that issue. I was in the, I don't want to redefine. Why are we, I was endorsing another bill that was taking government out of marriage and just letting it be, two people can do this if they, you know what I mean?
Right.
Why does government have to allow two people to love each other? That was where I was at that moment.
I didn't know that. So you wanted to get the government out of marriage.
Right.
Entirely.
And the bill that we had that was supposed to at least have some kind of an airplay didn't get any. And then in the next year, there was a super majority of Republicans. So literally everything you can think of came out into a bill. Mm-hmm. And one of which was to take away same-sex marriage.
Right.
And
but didn't that fail because there were so many Republicans who voted against repealing it,
which was myself and a number of other people that were really willing to say, no, we're not going to, government shouldn't give a right and then take it away and then give a right and then take it away. And that's part of what got some people to go against voting that bill. A lot of the Republicans that did that didn't feel that it was just or right for for government to grant a right and then remove it.
Well, yeah, that's how John Heichel explained it.
That's why a lot of Republicans didn't go along with it.
Yeah, he talked about it on this show. He talked about it. In fact,
However,
he said that he initially voted against gay marriage because he's Catholic, and his his Catholic beliefs informed him marriage is between one man and one woman. But then when it came time to repeal, he said, no, you can't do that. That's tyrannical. You can't grant someone a right and then at the next opportunity turn around and snatch that right away. And I remember he used that term. He said, that's tyrannical government.
Yeah.
And he said, we're not doing that. That's
he was a
crazy.
number of, and that's what got a lot of Republicans on that side.
Yeah.
Initially, they were trying to do a floor amendment to the bill, or they were trying to do an amendment. I don't remember exactly how it was introduced, that would have put civil unions back in place. And there were a number of Republicans that were cool with that.
Yeah.
They saw that as a compromise.
Yeah.
But the vote on that amendment failed.
Yeah.
And because that failed, it left the basic bill, which literally removed all same-sex marriages, made everything null and void from the day it was started, leaving nothing in its wake, which, of course, would have taken... See, a part of the conversation, too, was around medical care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people are married now, and they share medical service. You know, if we do this, all these people are going to lose their medical care. Was part of the conversation.
Well, that's why civil unions was never the ideal compromise that a lot of people were sold on it being when we did civil unions nationally. And I admit it, at the time I even bought it, and I thought, okay, well, this is good, this will work. But
a lot of us bought it in the beginning.
It did not address everything that
in the moment in the beginning
it
seemed to make sense.
Yeah,
because people think of marriage and they think of it in the vein of organized religions. They don't think of it outside of an organized religion.
Yeah.
So in their religion, this is what it means. But, now I'm going to go down into the weeds. But because the bill ended up being one that if it had passed, it literally would have ripped everything out. Everything out. That's what got more Republicans on board with voting it down and leaving same-sex marriage just as it is today. And to my knowledge, they haven't tried to do it again, although I wouldn't be surprised if it has been. Because you got to remember, with 424 legislators, that's a lot of legislation. And if even if you go on the light end, maybe you got 500, 600 bills for that year. And every bill in New Hampshire has to have a hearing, has to have a vote. Nothing can be pocket vetoed. Nothing can get kept in committee forever. Everything has to have a vote. So all of those dangerous bills that are risky, that we're not sure those bills are going to get a vote. Yeah. And if the wrong hair gets across the wrong group, you could see something terrible become legislation.
Yeah.
The comfort we have is having two bodies and the governor. At least it's going to get through three places to become law. But, as we learned with that budget that the governor signed in that made women second-class citizens in our state for a year, among other things, anything can happen in Concord. Anything can get through. One day it's a storm, like it's a semi-storm, and a bunch of the legislators don't come in, and you suddenly have a different majority flip. And that little bill or that terrible bill that they tabled gets taken off the table and voted upon because there's a switch and who's there. And in New Hampshire, like in a number of other places, right now, the split between Democratic and Republican control of the bodies of government is very tight. It doesn't take more than a few people, maybe even 4 or 5, to be missing to switch the majority that are voting from Republican to Democrat or Democrat to Republican. So, that's what New Hampshire went through.
Melanie said in the chat room, clarifying what the Pope had said recently, well, he said it was a sin, but it should not be illegal, and they should not be treated poorly by others. Right, yes. Exactly. Let's see. I think I saw one of our friends from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes.
Oh, Melanie also said in the chat it was the Tennessee lieutenant governor, the one who
the one that was caught,
the one very very anti-gay who was caught being seemingly gay.
There's a lot of people that
happens a lot.
Yell a lot that they don't approve of homosexuality, and they are.
Just be who you are. It seems like wouldn't it be a lot less stressful If everybody would just be who they are.
I like the world we're in now.
As long as you're not harming anyone else, just be who you are. It just seems easier. You know what I mean?
If you could just keep your head in your own business.
Right.
You don't need to be in everybody else's business.
Yeah.
You know, even back then, we wanted government out of your bedroom. I mean, ultimately, those of us that were up there pushing for something different just really wanted government out of it altogether. And that, you know, two people could have a contract together and take care of one another because they wanted to, because they loved each other, and not have to get the government to say, okay, I'll give you permission to do this in the form of a license permitting you to. That you have to buy, by the way. So in that vein, can you see what I mean as far as like, it's a very cool libertarian-esque idea. It sounds good.
Right. B. Atari is in the chat room and says, good afternoon, Matt Connarton. We say to you from us, we are a pop singing girl group from Greensboro, North Carolina, Matt. Oh, Tom Blanchard is in the chat room and says, finally got generator running, so I can now hear your dulcet tones. Wonderful. We're very glad about that, Tom. Hope you're safe and warm there. Melanie said we had ours running since this morning. It actually ran out of gas around 3. First time ever. Oh, wow. B. Atari says, we will be performing this Saturday at the Sawmill 2 at karaoke at Market Street in Greensboro, North Carolina, we said. That sounds like a popular place there. B. Atari also says, hello, hashtag Jenny Coffey. We say, that is so true, Matt. And we say, good speech of the man. We are good friends with N. Saturn, Matt Connarton. We say, hashtag Matt Connarton. Your show is awesome. Hi, Judy Maxwell Redmond.
Seriously.
We say to you from us, a pop singing girl group,
Matt.
B. Atari.
Stop it.
Wow. Why is that?
You're terrible.
It's B. Atari. I want B. Atari to feel included in the conversation. So that's
even though you think it's a bot?
No, clearly this is a real clearly. B. Atari also says we will be covering some Destiny's Child songs. Hashtag Matt Connarton. We said. Now a bot could not cover Destiny's Child, certainly.
But it knows that Tennessee Lieutenant Governor was the one that did what he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yes.
How does it know?
B. Atari says, we say that is compare true. Hashtag Jenny and hashtag Matt. We say Tennessee Lieutenant Governor. Yes. And Melanie said, that's what I said too. Exactly. Tennessee Lieutenant Governor.
Why does this not surprise me? Tennessee.
Well, since we're on the subject, we'll continue in the second hour because Joe Biden actually figures in all of this.
Oh, boy.
Believe it or not. Believe it or not.
What did he do now?
And there's something, well, just someone noticed something about the president on the issue of gay marriage. And we'll get into a little history lesson in the second hour for people who don't know. But in the meantime, we are well past the top of the hour. So let's play a little something. We're going to play another track from Pirellian 13. And this is a project. I think it's a solo project. I think he's the only one on it. Our friend Stevens Blanchard, who joined us recently from the band The Conniption Fits. He has this other project, Pirellian 13, and he's actually going to be joining us tomorrow on the phone or via Skype. I'm not sure how. Skype. He'll be Skyping in, and this is great. We played something of his yesterday from this project. It's in the synthwave genre, and we're going to play another one from him. This is called Less Than Clean. We'll give this a listen. We'll show some love to our amazing sponsors, and then we'll be back with hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed. Don't go away.
you knew the truth. It keeps you safe from every sound you make. You're never gonna know the truth. Yet I feel you once again. In my veins you are. Will I see you once again? In my eyes you are. Less than clean. Yet I feel you once again. In my veins you are. Will I see you once again? In my eyes you are. Less than clean.
Come on down to the Hop Knot at 1000 Elm Street, Manchester's premier craft beer and gourmet pretzel bar. Tell us more, Trudy.
We make our dough fresh every day. We make a variety of styles of pretzels and serve craft beer, cocktails, and a few bottles of wine. We do the traditional pretzel, and we have multiple flavors for that. We also do stuffed pretzels, pretzel sandwiches, free dessert pretzels, and pretzel knots.
The Hop Knot in the Brady Sullivan Plaza at 1000 Elm Street.
Bring your kitchen to life with Queen City Cabinetry, located at 87 Elm Street in the historic Sunbeam Mall in Manchester. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. They can be reached at 603-222-2007 or on the web at queencitycabinetrynh.com. Come see the possibilities. Queen City Cabinetry, another proud sponsor of WMNH.
Clemento's Pizzeria, family friendly, awesome for a date night. Clemento's Pizzeria. For delivery, call 603-782-8450. Clemento's Pizzeria, the best pizza in town. 1875 South Willow Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. Best cocktails around. Come in as friends and leave as family.
This hour on WMNH is sponsored by CGI Business Solutions, located at 5 Dartmouth Drive in Auburn. They serve all your business needs, including employee benefits planning, corporate design and business administration, investments and wealth management, and customized business insurance solutions. Their phone number is 866-841-4600 or on the web at cgibusinesssolutions.com.
WMNH, rip the knob off.
Welcome back, everybody. We are well in hour number 2, numero dos of Matt Connarton Unleashed, and we are live from the studios of WMNH 95.3 FM in glorious but very, very snowy downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. Also on Comcast 97 if you're in Manchester. Excuse me. Also, hello to all of our online listeners across the nation and around the globe. You can go to my website, mattconnerton.com, for all of your live streaming options, social media links, contact info, show archives, etc., etc. Today is Tuesday, March 14, 2023. Jenny is here as well at the news desk.
I'm present.
Yes. And you can be with us too at 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. You can also text me at 617-917-4476. I'm on social media at Matt Connarton. You can email me, matt@mattconnerton.com, or now you can message me right through the website, mattconnerton.com. You can interact and opine in the Facebook live chat, but the best thing to do so that we can hear and enjoy your dulcet tones is to give us a call at 603-250-6007. By the way, Melanie just said in the chat room, Matt, can you sound the horn a couple of times?
Stop it.
J-Fed is having a rough day. Well, we don't want we got to
only because it's him.
She said a couple times. There you go.
All right, now I'm going to start getting a twitch.
We'll keep it racked and ready.
Racked and ready?
Racked and ready. Isn't that an expression? Racked and ready. Don't the young people say that now?
No.
I thought they did.
No, I don't think they say
I
that.
could have sworn I'd heard DJ Reckless recently saying, I'm racked and ready for tonight's set at the 603. No?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be that tonight.
No, I'm sure.
I mean, it's supposed to be,
sure
but...
not. Oh, really? Yeah.
I think
Seems unlikely.
the Elm Street is going to be a little bit quieter tonight.
New name in the Facebook live chat, Christine Gall or Galley, however you say that, Christine. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to say your last name. She says about...
I would say Gall.
Gall? She says about 8 to 9 inches so far on the Goffstown back road near Goffstown line. It's still coming down hard here. And Tom Blanchard says 13 inches in Goffstown. My goodness.
Oh, yeah. I have little doubt of that. It has not let up at all since we've been in here.
Yes.
Not even a titch. I don't think you're going to get your tapering off as quickly as you think you're going to. It's not looking good, dear. Not looking good.
J-Fed says, thank you for the horn. Yes, well, I had to fight Jenny about that. She didn't want you to have the horn.
Stop it. I did not. I said for him, yes.
Eventually.
What do you mean eventually?
At first you were like, oh, no, not the horn. B. Atari says in the chat, we say every songs we knew by Destiny's Child, we heard that horn sound, hashtag Matt Connarton. And Miriam says it's horrible here in Bedford. Do you mean the snow or the sound of the horn, Miriam?
I think she's talking about the snow.
Oh, maybe. Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know if maybe she didn't like the
snow,
horn.
Maddie.
I did the horn for J-Fed. I didn't know if. And Beatari says
you don't need encouragement.
Beatari says horn by horn, hashtag Matt Connarton. Yes. By the way, so the song that we played. That was Less Than Clean by Pirellian 13, who will be our musical guest tomorrow on the program. And then Thursday, we have a band coming in the second hour, Downhill Rollers.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to that. We played a song of theirs at the top of the show. And I love them. Now, is it just one of the guys from Authentic Descent?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's a solo project.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they will correct me if I am wrong.
Yeah,
but I do believe it's his solo project.
Love it. Yesterday, I opened the show with a song by them called Savages that I just absolutely love.
What I'm looking at here, this snow isn't stopping until about 3 a.m. So you remember that conversation we were having earlier?
It's gonna be
like, no.
It's going to be over any minute now.
No, I believe you are wrong.
I told you. I
wish you were right.
I already canceled it. I went to weather.com and I used a promo code.
Were you taking a stick and waving it around?
Maybe I will.
You're going to knock it to the east.
Miriam says, the snow, my hydrangea? What? Hydrangea?
No, hydrangea.
Hydrangea.
I can't even say it now because you did that.
Hydrangea? What is that?
It's a flower.
Oh, she says it's been
plant.
It's been flattened. Well, that's horrible. Well, I hope it recovers.
By the snow, I dumped on it. When we went to Rite Aid, I ended up with a pile of snow on my head. I almost blamed you. I thought you had whacked me with a snowball. It came off the roof of a Rite Aid.
Oh, Miriam says tractor tire popped and dog leash got caught in snowblower. That's what's bothering J-Fed today. That's terrible. Well, sorry to hear that.
These things I can understand, and I am sorry. May your snowblower still function.
Yes.
And don't put anything in it like your hand.
Yes.
You know how many people do that?
Oh.
Those things come with a big plastic shovel attached to it.
Yeah.
Trying to, use that if it gets... It never failed every year that we would get people into the ER that had used their arm instead of a plastic shovel to dislodge the snow locked up in their snowblower. And you know what happens when you do that, don't you? Torque and tension just rip your arm right in there.
That's why I don't use mechanical things.
Well, this is
That's
true.
why I'm so unhandy, because I don't want to end up in the ER.
This is true. I'm the one that's always using the hand drill.
And
it's not you.
No,
that's right.
Good Lord, no. Melanie says in the chat room, she points out there was a pretty long pause before Jenny said okay for the horn.
Listen here. I did say okay. So you either accept what I did say or, pound sand. Yeah. I'm using your vernacular here now.
What, is that what they say in Vermont?
I think so.
Not today.
She doesn't pull any punches.
There is no sand. It's all snow.
Have you been to her page?
Yes.
I love her page. I go there to cheer up sometimes.
Miriam says her plant, how do you pronounce
Hydrangea.
it? Hydrangea. Was 6 feet tall.
Wow.
And
hopefully it'll come back.
And Beatari,
it should.
Beatari says, good afternoon, hashtag Michael Broadhurst. We say to you from us, Beatari, we say we do love the songs you sent us. Oh, well, hashtag Michael Broadhurst. Feel free to send me those songs as well. I'd love to hear them.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of the music that I'm getting to listen to now, but I am mind boggled on these incredible people that should be like in the top 10. There's so much good music.
Mm-hmm.
It's blown my mind. It really has blown my mind, and I can understand why it's so hard for artists to make it. There's a lot of stiff competition out there.
Yes,
there's some amazing people out there. I've been floored.
Yes. Oh, Melanie says, I don't think I like her tone. Are you guys gonna fight?
Yeah.
Ooh,
with
wow.
you. Yeah.
You're gonna fight with me?
No, with little Mel here.
Sorry. That's not little Mel.
Sorry.
You just totally insulted our friend Melanie.
Sorry. I am
Little
so
Mel
sorry.
Is someone we don't
Where
even.
Do I send the chocolate?
That's someone
I'm so sorry. That slipped out.
Someone we haven't spoken about in years, and for good reason. Anyway,
it slipped out. Jeez.
Moving along. 603-250-6007 is the studio line. 603-250-6007. So I teased this, and I hadn't planned on talking about any of this
today. Yeah, you
didn't
warn me. This is a blindsider for me. So now you have to tell me what's going on here.
Melanie says she's scrappy. Scrappy AF, as the young people say.
And she's adorable and cute, too.
Joe Biden, this is from Mediaite. Joe Biden claims to have had high school epiphany on gay marriage, neglects to mention 50 plus years of public opposition to it afterwards. Now, the reason this got my attention, I mean, we ended up on the subject of gay marriage earlier, which we hadn't planned, but very often that's the adventure of the show. We end up places we hadn't originally intended. But so a little history lesson for those who don't remember. So when it became President Barack Obama, when he originally when he ran for president, and sometime into his presidency, he opposed what came to be known as marriage equality. His position had been that it was between one man and one woman, as many Democrats still did at that point. And but there was this very interesting moment.
Is it the Sunday show issue?
When Vice President Biden, I think he was on Meet the Press.
I got it.
Yes. And he was asked about it, and Biden kind of got ahead of the administration and said that that he personally had support for marriage equality. And some people, there's different theories, but some people think that Biden saying that either intentionally or unintentionally, because Biden is gaffe prone, but Biden saying that publicly might have actually pushed Obama into not long after that saying, I've given this a lot of thought and I am in favor of marriage equality. And that became the new position of the Biden administration. By the way, not unprecedented, whether it was intentional or not on Biden's part. Everyone forgets this. People have very short memories when it comes to this stuff. But during the George W. Bush administration, who was W's vice president, Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney, very conservative, except on one issue. There's one issue where he always took the liberal position. Dick Cheney, I don't know, do you know this?
His daughter.
Yes. Dick Cheney openly has always been pro-marriage equality.
That's why Pink wrote that song that way.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
Dear Mr. President, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, read the lyrics to it.
Right.
And it'll click for you.
So when asked about that, and Cheney gave what I thought was a perfectly reasonable answer as well. You know, when he would be asked, not that it was ever a big deal. It was a much bigger deal when Biden said what he said. But when Cheney broke with the president, you know, he never went out of his way to talk about it, but he would be honest about it if he was asked. If a journalist asked him, what's your position on this? He would say, oh, personally, I support marriage equality. But he gave a mature answer when asked, you know, well, but that means that puts you at odds with the president. And Cheney's answer was, well, we don't agree on everything. You can't expect us to agree on everything. The president sets the policy and the agenda for the administration. This is an issue that we just happen to disagree on. No big deal. But when Biden said what he said on Meet the Press, it ended up being a big deal.
Right, because a few days later is when Obama took a position publicly. Was just a few days after that. He had to.
Yeah. And he effectively changed his position from what it had been. So I was surprised when I saw this pop up on Mediaite. But here's what this says. Now, this just adds kind of it's a new layer to an old story, but it's relevant to what we were discussing. So I just thought this was interesting to see this pop up today. It says President Joe Biden misstated his record on gay marriage during a recent interview with Cal Penn, claiming to have had an epiphany on the matter in high school while neglecting to mention his more than 50 years of opposition to it. Penn asked him, quote, I'm curious what your evolution was like on marriage equality and what the federal government might be able to do to protect LGBTQ Americans, especially trans kids who are dealing with all of these regressive state laws that are popping up right now, unquote. And then Biden said this, and I've never heard him tell this story before. It doesn't mean he hasn't said this before, but I don't remember ever hearing this. So here's what Biden said, quote, I can remember exactly where my epiphany was. Come on, man. No, I'm sorry. I added that in. Here's what he said. I can remember exactly where my epiphany was. Hadn't thought much about it, to tell you the truth. And I was a senior in high school and my dad was dropping me off. And I remember about to get out of the car and I looked to my right and two well-dressed men in suits kissed each other. I mean, like gave each other a kiss. And then one looked like he was heading into the DuPont building. Wow, he remembers this with very specific detail. One looked like he was headed to the Hercules Corporation building. And I'll never forget it. I turned and looked at my dad and he said, Joey, it's simple. They love each other. It's simple. No, I'm not joking. It's simple. They love each other. And it's just that simple. It doesn't matter whether it's same sex or a heterosexual couple. You should be able to be married. So what's the problem? Unquote.
Can we remember? Now let's think back here. Well, number one, we know for a fact that he voted against same-sex marriage recognition at the federal level as a senator. That as a senator, he believed that marriage was between one woman and one man. Go back and look at his voting records, and also think back. Clinton in Clinton's presidency was the protection of marriage. Is it definition of marriage or protection of marriage?
I've always called it the Indefensible Defense of Marriage Act.
Defense of Marriage Act, which legally at the federal level made marriage between one man and one woman. That was done by Clinton.
Yes. Yeah, it took the Democratic Party a while to get here.
So finding out that Biden was voting against it when he was a senator doesn't surprise me in the least.
No, and I knew that.
And my views have evolved over time, and I'd like to see that other people's views evolve over time. I mean, I'd like to think in the 21st century that if two people want to be responsible for each other, you're cool with that.
Right.
But when he did that interview and he made that statement, he didn't say, he was making it sound as if he'd always felt that way. When he did that story, that's high school. How does that explain his years in the Senate?
Right.
Consistently voting against, and I bet I'm willing to put a bet on it. If we go back and look, he was supporting the Defense of Marriage Act when it was done.
I'm certain.
I have little doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I have little doubt in my mind.
So for him
either.
to say that he had an epiphany about gay marriage in high school is BS.
Well,
it's just BS. That he can spit out in one sentence and get all detailed about it. He's got all the facts of this moment in high school, but he can't figure out what's going on now.
It's interesting he remembers it so specifically, too. One of them was going into the DuPont building. Another one was going into the Hercules building, or Hercules Corporation.
I wonder if he remembers what he smelled, what he ate. Did he remember the taste?
So it says here, but despite Biden's supposed teenage heel turn, the future president went on to oppose same-sex marriage for a half century as both a senator and vice president. In 1973... just a little over a decade after Biden's epiphany, he said that his gut reaction was to believe that homosexuals in the military and government posed security risks to the country. So at the time, he opposed gays in the military. And
I'm sure he supported Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
And I'm sure he was behind the party on that. Like, he wasn't even with the, because like I said, it took the party a while to get there on gay marriage, but the party was already well there on gays in the military. And, but he said it, security risks.
And when
that's a conservative trope.
If you go back in time in American legislation, you will find that it were Democrats that introduced bills on the congressional floor to institute a amendment to the United States Constitution declaring marriage between one white woman and one white man and a person of color. It was very specific. Some of the bills went down to use language like, if you have one drop of blood, then you can't marry somebody who isn't the same as you. That's the same place this is. And those bills were not that long ago in our history.
Well, that's why
this is so new if you think about it that way.
That's why whenever anyone objects to the redefining of marriage, I always say, well, we've redefined marriage before, because there was a time where, at least in some states, marriage was defined as between one white man and one white woman, or one black man and one black woman.
And it was criminal.
Criminal. Redefining marriage is not anything new.
It was wasn't it a case out of Massachusetts? I believe it was. It was a black man and a white woman that actually went so far as to go to the Supreme Court. That was the case, I think, that ended up in the Supreme Court. But when that happened, there was immediate efforts in Congress to amend the United States Constitution to make it constitutionally illegal for people to have interracial marriages. Fast forward to where we are, and we're having the same discussion. Insert homosexual couples, gay couples, same-sex marriage. That's the new hate that replaced interracial. Now we're not going to go after interracial anymore, but we're going to go after same-sex couples, just like Clarence Thomas. He's in a interracial marriage, so he didn't go after that, but he is actively going after same-sex marriage.
I don't know if he's actively going after
his
it,
writings,
but we should clarify that, though. We should
stick to my opinion on that.
We should be precise about that. He did reference in his opinion overturning Roe v. Wade
on abortion.
Right. But he referenced in his opinion. His consenting opinion that might also open the door to re-looking at same-sex marriage.
He left out interracial marriage.
Well, of course he did.
Because exactly.
Of course he did.
Because he is in one.
I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying I think we should be very precise about when we say.
I think what I'm saying is precise.
I don't think he's actively going after it.
I think it's active when you're writing an opinion on abortion, on women's rights. When you're writing that opinion, to out of left field pull out same-sex marriages. It is in his previous writings as well. He is adamantly opposed to any same-sex relationships whatsoever.
Yeah.
He takes his biblical standpoint there that, it's the worst sin in the world. He's actively going after that, in my opinion, when he institutes that or he inserts it into an opinion that has nothing to do with it. Abortion and women's rights have nothing to do with same-sex marriage at all, but he created a connection there so he could speak his mind. I do believe that he actively is working towards and wants to undo same-sex marriage. And remember, Biden only signed same-sex marriage recognition in federal law in December of last year.
Yeah.
It was
well,
only
that was a reaction to Thomas.
And there was that was literally like 10 years after what you just were talking about, that Sunday show that he did where he got out ahead of Obama on the issue. But he literally only signed that bill into law in December of 2022.
Yeah.
I have little doubt in my mind it's on the agenda to get it reversed in the Republicans. They want their person to get in there and reverse that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have government giveth and government taketh away again if they take over the White House. I do believe that could occur.
So it does say here in the 1990s, Biden voted for both the Defense of Marriage Act and also supported a measure to defund schools that presented homosexuality as, quote, a positive lifestyle alternative, unquote. Wow. So he really bought into a lot of the tropes.
And this is the same thing that's going on today, only insert transgender.
So here,
or gender dysphoria.
So it says here, during an appearance on Meet the Press in 2006. Okay, I was trying to remember exactly where it was in the administration. Biden expressed opposition to President George W. Bush's proposed constitutional amendment to define marriage as being between a man and a woman, but used the bipartisan consensus in favor of traditional marriage to do so. So he had actually addressed it in 2006 on Meet the Press, and here's what he said. So before the Obama presidency, this was probably the first time he addressed it. I didn't know about this. He said, quote, "We already have a law, the Defense of Marriage Act. We've all voted or I voted and others and said, look, marriage is between a man and a woman and states must respect that. Nobody's violated that law. There's been no challenge to that law. Why do we need a constitutional amendment? Marriage is between a man and a woman. Unquote, argued Biden at the time. So he did oppose because remember, that was for a long time, it would come up every few years.
Yep.
A lot of conservatives would say, we need a constitutional amendment for this.
Right. And now they're wanting to do that for a different reason. Now, what's really kind of cool is to now fast forward to December of 2022 when Biden signs that law. And he goes on to say, for most of our nation's history, we denied interracial couples and same-sex couples from these protections. It failed to treat them with equal dignity and respect. And now this law requires an interracial marriage and same-sex marriage must be recognized as legal in every state in the nation. So he evolved quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad to see. I mean, I admire somebody that's willing to learn.
No, listen.
But he only just signed this last year.
Yeah, well, because
and that it's so new.
Like most people, no one thought there was a legitimate threat to
it's
it.
really very new. I mean, the passage of same-sex marriage in New Hampshire was what, 2010 maybe? It's not that long ago.
Sounds right.
We're still, there's still good reason to stay on top of fighting for the protection of these rights. Or we're going to have that situation where government is giving a right and then taking it away. We'll give it to you, we'll take it away. How does that work in the workplace? You're on your health care, you're off your health care. You're on your life insurance, you're off your life insurance. We can't do this to people's lives and to businesses without causing significant harm. So you get over it. It is what it is. It's law. You don't like it, don't look. Don't go to that wedding. I personally became a justice of the peace and be more than happy to run it.
Tom Blanchard says, I feel that if you don't feel it's okay, then just don't do it. It's none of your business what other people do. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And I remember having that conversation with people too, who opposed, when the Supreme Court ruled on it and made it federally legal. I said, what do you think is going to happen? Someone's going to come up and spontaneously gay marry you?
Exactly.
It's going to be okay. It really is. Chris Rose from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts joins us in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Chris. Biatari said something that seems a little self-contradictory. Biatari says, President Biden, well, we know he's doing his best for us. We say we definitely need a new president. We say for sure. I feel like there's a conflicting message there.
Yeah, I think we need to examine our words a bit more.
It also says here, during the 2008 vice presidential debate, Biden and his counterpart, former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, concurred on the subject. Declared Biden, quote, Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage, unquote. In 2012, more than 50 years after Biden's epiphany, he finally expressed his support for marriage equality. Okay, so that's what it was, 2012, describing himself as, quote, absolutely comfortable with the fact that men marry men, women marry women, unquote. That might have been outside of, I feel like he said something much more eloquent when he made his Meet the Press appearance. But anyway, the point, what I would just say is, I'm glad. I mean, I always say I was pro-marriage equality before it was cool to be pro-marriage equality. I always have been. But I appreciate the evolution on the issue. Dude, just be honest. Be honest about it. I don't buy this epiphany story unless,
really, why do that? Why not just be truthful and instead of running away from your voting record?
Just say I evolved on it.
It's in your voting record. Come on now.
Then again, I mean, it's possible that the epiphany.
Come on, man.
Yeah, come on, man. It's possible that the epiphany story is true, but see, this is almost worse.
But then that doesn't make it.
It's possible, right? It's possible the epiphany story is true, but he didn't think it was politically tenable to be honest about that position, so he took the anti-gay marriage position until it became politically tenable,
which is awful
to take that position
and disgusting.
But, so anyway,
and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he's a career politician.
Well, of course. So I'm glad he ended up in the right place, and I appreciate that. And listen, I
don't want none of them to run again.
Everyone should have room to grow, and I
want new people.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I'm done with them. He did say when he did sign the Respect for Marriage Act, by the way. That's what they called it. The Respect for Marriage Act.
Yes.
He said marriage is a simple proposition. Who do you love? And will you be loyal to that person you love? It's not more complicated than that.
I have a criticism of him on that,
That's what he
though.
said.
I have a criticism of him on that.
I'm waiting.
I think he gets it wrong. And I remember this too after, I don't think it was during the Meet the Press appearance. I think it might have been after when he addressed it and it became the official policy of the administration. I remember seeing him in interviews and he would, or maybe it was a speech, but he would do this thing where he would talk about, it's really a simple question. It's about who do you love? And you should be free to love who you want to love. That's not the right way to argue it. Just hear me out.
Okay, I'll hear you out.
Whether you support marriage equality or not, you're free to love who you love. No one's stopping you from loving who you want to love. But if what he says is, when he sort of hypersimplifies it by saying it's just about who do you love, that using that simple logic, you could have just left it the way it was with civil unions and whatnot. It is more complicated than that. What it's really about to me, it's not about who do you love. You can love whoever you want to love. Right. It is right. Exactly. It is about having access to all the rights and benefits and privileges that come with that. And the problem with civil unions and why it didn't turn out to be the panacea that so many people, myself included, I admit it, bought into at the time and said, okay, that's a good compromise, because it just didn't work out that way. It didn't work out that way with health insurance companies.
It would have if the federal government had also gone that way, but the federal government did not.
Yeah.
So a civil marriage or what do we call it?
There were a lot of unforeseen complications.
You're not entitled to survivor benefits. You're not entitled to each other's Social Security. You're not entitled to health care. None of that under the civil unions.
Yeah.
If the feds had recognized it, then yes, it would have worked. Actually, it would have just been, you know what I mean? It would have if that had happened, but that didn't happen.
There were a lot of things that it did not solve.
I used to always say, why does government have to give you permission on who you want to love and take care of? That's how I've always defined it. So that's why I was kind of iffy on what you were saying about loving one another, because I look at it that way too.
Yeah.
Two people want to love each other and take care of each other.
Right.
That's what it's about. They want to take care of each other. It's about being able to go and into the hospital and be at bedside.
Right.
Part of what arose out of that horrific situation, and that's something I had seen before and was a part of the people that were like, well, we're not going to allow it. Someone's dying. I had a patient who was dying in the hospital, and they had a partner for 20 years. Now, of course, they weren't married because it wasn't allowed. The family was legally the next of kin. They refused to allow the partner into the unit. And the person was dying.
Yeah.
So when their family was gone, the nursing staff used to bring the partner in.
Oh, okay.
To be at bedside because they
Good.
felt horrible.
Yeah.
These people have been together for 20 years together. The family stopped speaking to her 20 years ago when it started. And now all of a sudden they're at the bedside making the decisions. And the partner doesn't have not only doesn't have the right to say anything, they don't even have the right to be in the room.
Yeah.
A lot of this was birthed out of that. You know, two people are trying to love each other and take care of each other, but government rules and regulations are getting in the way.
Right.
You know, so in the end, this is what we had to do in order to ensure that every couple had the right to take care of each other, to be there to the very, very end.
Right.
So for me, that's where a big part of my positioning came from. But it would have worked under civil unions had they been recognized. But putting it into law doesn't make a company recognize it necessarily unless it's all the way. And it was never all the way in the law. Technically, it wasn't really protected until last December.
I don't think it...
when he signed that federal bill, that was the seal right there.
I don't think ultimately, though, even if everything had fallen into place with civil unions, I still don't think that would have been
eventually. Yeah, no,
because you're still, even with that,
you're still creating two classes of people,
right? Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
It didn't seem like it at the time, but it is. It's just better to have it. But I would go one step further because I'm of the mind of I think there should be another category maybe where two people can get together and take care of each other and form a contract together, and the government doesn't have to be involved. You don't have to necessarily call it a marriage.
Right.
But to do that in today's society, all you can do is do like a power of attorney, but that's not the same thing. That's not giving you all the rights and protections that marriage does.
Miriam Banish in the chat room says, I've been pro-marriage equality for as long as I understood such a thing was something some folks wanted. It does zero harm for other people to define marriage as they wish. Everything is fine between consenting adults.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
But you remember back then it was all, if this is law, the churches are going to be forced and all the churches are going to close because they won't want to do it. Like, you remember this is some of the ridiculous stuff that was going around back then.
Yeah, yeah. And no one's forcing churches to do gay marriages if they don't agree with it. Nor should they be forced to. I would know, but why would anyone want that anyway? You know.
But that was part of the hysteria.
I know.
Oh, they're going to take away their tax exempt status if they don't do same sex weddings.
Yeah.
It was ridiculously stupid.
It's always there's always a lot of fear mongering that goes on. It's like when Don't Ask, Don't Tell. That was another one. Geez, we could do a whole show on that.
You can be gay and then as long as nobody knows.
Don't ask, don't tell. I will acknowledge at the time I thought that was another one. I thought, okay, this is a good compromise. I admit it.
Because it was the only way they were going to be allowed to serve and not get dishonorably discharged.
I admit it. But that, just like with civil unions, Don't Ask, Don't Tell did not solve. There were a lot of problems it did not solve that needed to be solved. And then so we finally got rid of that. And the thing I remember about that too is, I don't remember who specifically it was that went and testified before Congress, but basically, the guys running the military went before Congress and basically said, look, it's time. We're all adults. It's going to be okay. We can get rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. You can be openly gay in the military. It's going to be fine. The dudes running not to be sexist, but that is, who was running the military. The dudes.
There were very few women at the top.
Very few women almost none, I think, right?
No, I think we have a female general or two.
Do we?
I do believe so.
That's good. But the dudes in charge went before Congress and are telling these senators, listen, we know we're running the military. It's time. It's going to be okay. There's no problem here. It's going to be okay.
Because under that law, you were fine and safe as long as nobody knew.
Right.
But the minute somebody knew, it was a dishonorable discharge. You could have been the best soldier ever with all kinds of awards. You could have saved an entire battalion. But if somebody found out you were gay, you were dishonorably discharged.
Yeah.
So that's where Don't Ask, Don't Tell didn't cover everything.
Right.
You know, and nobody should get dishonorably discharged because of what they do in the privacy of their bedroom.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, seriously. It's evolving over time. Back in the day, you know, when Clinton and everything, there was no internet. There was no home computer. The only thing you knew was on the television and the limited stations you had. There wasn't hundreds of stations. Our world was a lot smaller. We didn't know as much as we do. And when that came out into the public eye, it was a big deal because it had never been discussed publicly before, ever. It was always just stay in the closet. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about any of these things. We live in a different day and age now, which thankfully is making us, I think, a healthier and better society as we accept all parts of ourselves. Everything about you should be acceptable and good. Nobody should look down on you for what you do in the bedroom or if you have a therapist. We're evolving as a society. Someday somebody's going to look back to this day and age and call us something that we're accepting as normalcy now that down the road will not be. At least I hope so. I hope we just keep growing as a species. I'm kind of losing hope sometimes, you know?
I think the
world will die when everything... Really?
I think so. All right, we got to go. We're out of time.
No, it didn't. I can see it. It's fine now.
Or it's letting up.
Yeah.
Beatari said in the chat room, so we say hashtag Jenny Coffey and hashtag Matt Connarton. We will be watching you tomorrow afternoon. We say keep up the good work. We just will be sing, dance, and practicing. Excellent. All right. We got to go. We're out of time. Don't forget tomorrow, musical guests in the second hour, Pirellian 13. And if you missed any part of today's show, it will be up in just a little bit at WMNHradio.org and at my website, mattconnerton.com. And did you want to plug your website?
Absolutely. You can find more about me at jenncoffey.com, JENNCOFFEY. My writings, my paintings, lots of things.
And great. And we're going to leave you with, this is our Thursday guest. I love this song so much. This is Downhill Rollers. This track is called Savages to close out today's Matt Connarton Unleashed. Talking to y'all a little bit later. Bye, everybody.